Chosen one, you are not here by chance, and this moment is not random. Your presence here is a divine appointment orchestrated by heaven with precision. Something in the unseen has already shifted, and your spirit was guided to this message at the exact moment it was required. This is a holy interruption, a sacred summons, a signal that heaven is stepping directly into your timeline. Chosen one, hear this with your spirit fully awake. You are standing at the edge of a supernatural breakthrough, a moment of sudden elevation, a divine wealth transfer, a heaven-sent transformation that changes the way provision flows in your life. The weight you have been carrying is being lifted. The worry that has followed you is losing its authority. What once felt delayed is now aligning under God's perfect timing. Anointed one, God funds what He authors, and what He has written over your life is coming into manifestation. As it is revealed in Philippians chapter 4 verse 19, your supply is not coming from human systems, but from the riches of His glory. This is not survival provision. This is divine funding. You are entering holy alignment. You are stepping into supernatural supply. Prepare your heart. Quiet your fears. What follows is not information, it is activation. Heaven is about to speak, and your life is ready to receive. Chosen one, pause with me for a moment. Let your spirit settle. What you are sensing right now is not imagination, and it is not emotional hype. It is recognition. Something in you already knows that this season is different. The weight you carried for so long is loosening. The constant tension of wondering how things will work out is being interrupted by a quieter, deeper assurance. Heaven is not observing from a distance anymore. Heaven is intervening. Chosen one, what is unfolding in your life is not the result of luck, timing, or finally getting something right. This is alignment. This is a divine recalibration. God is not asking you to survive another season. He is inviting you to step into a supply you did not create and could never sustain on your own. This is the moment where provision stops being a hope and starts becoming a pattern. I want to speak to you honestly, not as someone shouting from a stage, but as someone who has walked through seasons where the numbers did not add up, where the pressure was constant, and where faith had to be practiced quietly. I know what it feels like to wake up already tired, to plan carefully, budget carefully, pray carefully, and still feel like you are one unexpected bill away from collapse. I know the weight of responsibility that no one else sees, and I also know the exact moment when God begins to interrupt that cycle. Chosen one, that interruption is happening now. For a long time you have been operating in what I call maintenance mode. Just enough strength to keep going, just enough faith to not quit, just enough hope to make it through another day. But maintenance mode was never meant to be permanent. It was a holding pattern while heaven prepared something larger than what you could see. The season of barely holding it together is closing, not because you became stronger, but because God is becoming your source in a new way. Hear this clearly. Chosen one, God is not simply comforting you anymore, He is funding you. That means your life is shifting from self-supported effort to heaven-backed provision, from anxiety-driven decisions to spirit-led alignment, from fear-based planning to divine strategy. This does not mean challenges disappear overnight, but it does mean the narrative changes. Lack no longer gets the final word. Fear no longer gets to lead. Worry no longer controls your decisions. The old story where you had to do everything in your own strength is being rewritten at the root. There is a reason your spirit has been restless lately, a reason old coping mechanisms no longer work, a reason distractions no longer satisfy. That restlessness is not dissatisfaction, it is preparation. God is expanding your capacity to receive, and expansion always feels uncomfortable before it feels empowering. Chosen one. I remember a season when I did everything right on paper and still felt like I was falling behind. I prayed, worked, planned, and showed up, and yet nothing seemed to move. But what I could not see at the time was that heaven was rearranging things beyond my effort. Connections were forming without my awareness. Opportunities were being positioned ahead of my arrival. Provision was being stored, not delayed. That is what God does. He prepares before He reveals. He aligns before He announces. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are on schedule with heaven's timing. What is coming into your life now is not a reward for how hard you tried. It is a response to purpose. God funds assignments, not anxiety. He supplies vision, not fear. And your life carries weight in the spirit. There is assignment attached to you, influence attached to you, impact attached to you. That is why heaven is stepping in now. Chosen one. This is not about quick money or temporary relief. This is about sustainability, about peace that doesn't disappear when circumstances shift, about provision that flows without panic, about doors opening without you forcing them. When God becomes your source, you stop chasing what was always meant to find you. You may have noticed something subtle already. A calm where there used to be panic. A clarity where there used to be confusion. A sense that something is aligning even if you can't explain how. That is the Spirit confirming what your mind has not yet caught up to. The old survival era is ending. And here is the invitation of this moment, chosen one. Stop worrying like the burden is still yours to carry. Worry was a survival tool, not a destiny requirement. God is not asking you to figure it out. He is asking you to trust the supply He is releasing. This is the shift from striving to receiving, from fear to faith, from barely enough to more than sufficient. Lift your head, chosen one. Something has already moved in the unseen. The funding of your life has begun, and the evidence will follow. Pause here. Let this settle in your spirit. Chosen one. Now that your spirit has begun to recognize the shift, I need you to understand something crucial. What God is doing in your life right now is not just external. Before provision shows up around you, heaven always restructures something within you. That is why this season may feel emotionally intense, mentally clarifying, and spiritually awakening all at once. You are not losing stability, you are shedding limitations. For a long time, survival taught you habits that once protected you, but now restrict you. You learned to brace yourself for disappointment. You learned to expect delays. You learned to hold back your faith just enough to avoid getting hurt again. Those patterns were understandable, but they cannot travel with you into the next dimension of your life. God is not shaming you for how you survived. He is inviting you to evolve. Chosen one. There is a difference between trusting God and depending on Him. Trust believes He can. Dependence knows He will. This is the season where God is shifting you from belief into reliance, from hoping He shows up to expecting Him to move. That shift alone changes how provision flows. I remember a moment in my own journey when I realized I was praying for peace, but still planning as if God wouldn't come through. My mouth said faith, but my nervous system still lived in fear. That tension is exhausting, and it is exactly what God is healing in you right now. He is not just supplying your needs. He is restoring your nervous system, your inner world, your ability to rest while things are still unfolding. Chosen, one heaven-funded lives move differently. They are not reckless, but they are no longer controlled by anxiety. They plan, but they don't panic. They work, but they don't worship work. They move with wisdom, but not with fear. This is the posture God is forming in you. You may notice that certain worries no longer have the same grip on you. Things that once spiraled your thoughts now feel strangely quiet. That is not numbness. That is peace beginning to take root. And peace is one of the clearest indicators that provision is near. God often sends peace ahead of provision so you don't sabotage what He is about to release. Chosen one. Hear this carefully. When God funds your life, He does not just give you money, He gives you timing. He gives you discernment. He gives you favor. He gives you ideas that unlock doors. He gives you relationships that accelerate what effort never could. This is why comparison no longer fits you. What God is doing with you is custom, not generic. There were seasons when you did everything right and still felt invisible. But invisibility was protection. God was strengthening your character without the pressure of exposure. He was building depth where others were chasing attention. Now the same depth that once felt like delay is becoming your advantage. Chosen one. You are stepping into a dimension where provision follows alignment. You won't need to beg. You won't need to manipulate. You won't need to over-explain yourself. What is meant for you will recognize you. Doors will open because your presence carries authorization. This does not mean everyone will understand your transition. Some people only knew you in your survival season. Your peace may confuse them. Your boundaries may offend them. Your confidence may trigger them. That is not your responsibility to manage. When God elevates you, not everyone gets an explanation. Some get an observation. I want to be honest with you as a guide who has been there. There is a moment in every divine shift where you are tempted to go back to what is familiar, not because it is better, but because it is predictable. Predictable struggle feels safer than unfamiliar peace. But chosen one, do not retreat. Familiarity is not confirmation. Growth always feels foreign at first. You are not abandoning humility by expecting provision. You are honoring God's role as your source. You are not being irresponsible by resting your spirit. You are aligning with divine order. Scripture has always revealed this principle. When the burden shifts from human effort to divine supply, rest becomes a weapon. Chosen one. God is not asking you to stop working. He is asking you to stop worrying. Worry was never meant to be your motivator. Faith is, and faith does not rush. Faith moves with clarity. There are ideas already forming in your spirit that you have not spoken out loud yet. Visions you have kept private because you weren't sure how they could happen. God knows them, and He is not intimidated by their size. In fact, the scale of what He is preparing matches the scale of your calling, not the scale of your past. This is why old limitations are breaking. This is why old fears are surfacing, not to control you, but to be released. Heaven is clearing space. Chosen one, you are not stepping into random blessing. You are stepping into stewardship. God does not fund chaos. He funds purpose. And your life has entered a season where purpose is coming into focus. Take a breath. Let your shoulders drop. You do not have to hold everything together anymore. Chosen one. There is a sacred moment that comes after alignment and before manifestation. It is the moment where things begin to move, but not yet loudly. Quiet confirmations start showing up. Small shifts begin rearranging your environment. You sense progress before you see proof. This is where many people get confused, but not you, because your spirit is awake. Momentum in the kingdom does not always arrive with noise. Often it comes with precision, a conversation that feels timely, an idea that lands with clarity, a door that opens without resistance. These are not coincidences, they are signals. Heaven is saying, keep moving. Chosen one, you are entering a flow where effort meets grace. This does not mean you stop taking responsibility. It means responsibility no longer feels heavy. When God is involved, movement becomes sustainable. You no longer grind to survive, you move to build. I remember a season when opportunities started coming toward me instead of me chasing them. At first it felt unfamiliar. I wondered if I deserved it. I questioned whether it would last. That internal hesitation is common when you have lived too long in survival mode. But survival thinking does not prepare you for overflow. Alignment does. God is training you right now to receive without guilt and to move without fear. This is critical because hesitation can delay what alignment has already authorized. Chosen one, you do not need to shrink to stay safe anymore. Safety is no longer found in staying small. Safety is found in obedience. You may notice that your intuition is sharper than it used to be. Decisions that once took weeks of overthinking now come with clarity. You sense when to move and when to wait. That is not coincidence. That is discernment increasing. When heaven funds your life, heaven also guides your steps. Momentum requires sensitivity. The more aligned you become, the more subtle the instructions feel. God does not shout when you are listening. He nudges, he whispers, he highlights. That is why distraction is dangerous in this season. Not because you are weak, but because you are tuned. Chosen one. There will be moments when momentum accelerates suddenly. Things that felt delayed for years may begin to move in weeks or even days. This can feel disorienting if you are not anchored. That is why your foundation matters more than your speed. God is not just giving you movement, He is giving you stability. I want to share something personal. There was a time when everything started happening at once. Open doors, new responsibilities, increased visibility. And I realized that the greatest risk was not failure, it was burnout. Momentum without rest can destroy what grace built. That is why God teaches His chosen ones how to move from rest, not toward it. Chosen one, do not confuse acceleration with pressure. Divine momentum does not suffocate. It energizes. If something is draining your peace, it may be an invitation you are not meant to accept. Just because a door opens does not mean it is yours. Alignment includes discernment. This is where many people miss it. They think momentum means saying yes to everything. But heaven-backed momentum is selective. It is strategic. It is focused. God is not multiplying your obligations. He is multiplying your impact. You will begin to see patterns in how provision flows. It may not always come from where you expect. Sometimes it comes through ideas, sometimes through people, sometimes through timing that saves you money, energy, or effort. That is provision too. When God funds your life, waste decreases. Chosen one, expect resistance to shift forms. When lack loses its grip, distraction often tries to replace it. Old fears may attempt to resurface. Old voices may question your direction. This does not mean you are off track. It means you are advancing. Opposition rarely announces defeat quietly. Stay grounded, stay surrendered, stay responsive. Momentum also reveals relationships. Some people will celebrate your growth. Others will feel threatened by it. This is not new. Even Scripture reminds us that elevation always exposes hearts. Do not harden yourself. Just be discerning. Not everyone who claps is assigned to walk with you. Chosen one. You are not responsible for shrinking your light to make others comfortable. You are responsible for stewarding what God places in your hands. And stewardship requires courage. You will feel a growing confidence, not arrogance, but certainty. The kind that comes from knowing you are not alone. That confidence will shape how you speak, how you decide, how you carry yourself. People will notice, even if they cannot name what changed. That is authority forming. Momentum will tempt you to look ahead constantly, but do not rush past the present moment. Presence is where clarity stays sharp. Anxiety lives in the future. Peace lives in now. God is not just moving you forward. He is teaching you how to stay aligned while moving. That is a skill many never learn. You are learning it now. Chosen one. The shift you asked for has begun. Alignment is turning into movement. Movement is turning into momentum. And momentum, when stewarded well, becomes legacy. Chosen. One momentum is powerful, but abundance is something deeper. Momentum moves you forward. Abundance holds you steady. This is the transition God is guiding you through now. He is not interested in giving you a brief season of success followed by exhaustion or loss. He is building something that lasts, something that can be sustained without fear, without burnout, and without compromise. Many people reach momentum and think they have arrived, but heaven thinks in generations, not moments. God is not just asking, "Can you receive?" He is asking, "Can you steward?" That is why this season feels both expansive and refining. You are being trusted with more, and trust always comes with preparation. Chosen one. Sustainable abundance begins when your identity no longer depends on outcomes. When you are no longer validated by numbers, applause, or visible results, abundance can rest on you without distorting you. God protects His chosen ones from being crushed by what they prayed for. That is why He strengthens you internally before expanding you externally. I've seen this in my own life. There were times when I asked God for increase, not realizing that the increase itself would expose weaknesses in my boundaries, my rest, and my priorities. God delayed not to deny, but to mature me. When the provision came, it no longer controlled me. I could carry it without losing myself. That is what God is doing in you now. Chosen one. Abundance is not just having more. It is needing less to feel secure. It is peace that remains even when circumstances fluctuate. It is clarity that keeps you from overextending yourself just to prove something. God is teaching you that your worth is settled so your decisions can be wise. You may notice that your desires are changing. Things that once excited you now feel empty. Things you once chased now feel unnecessary. This is not loss. This is refinement. Abundance sharpens your discernment. You are learning to choose what adds value, not just what adds volume. One of the subtle traps at this stage is overcommitment. When doors open, the temptation is to say yes out of gratitude or fear that the opportunity won't return. But chosen one fear-based yeses lead to exhaustion. God is not offended by your boundaries. He designed them. Jesus himself withdrew from crowds even when demand was high. Not because he lacked compassion, but because he understood stewardship. You cannot pour endlessly without being replenished. Sustainable abundance flows through rhythms of rest, not constant output. Chosen one, hear this clearly. Rest is not laziness. Rest is alignment. It is a declaration that God is your source, not your effort. When you rest intentionally, you are not falling behind. You are staying calibrated. You are also entering a season where your influence increases, sometimes without your intention. People will listen more closely. They will watch how you respond under pressure. They will notice your peace. This is because abundance carries authority, and authority must be carried with humility. God is not just blessing you for your comfort. He is positioning you for impact. That means your choices now matter in ways they didn't before. Integrity, consistency, and obedience become safeguards, not restrictions. They keep the flow clean. There will be moments when old patterns try to resurface: overworking, overgiving, overthinking. These habits once helped you survive, but they cannot help you thrive. Sustainable abundance requires new patterns: listening before acting, waiting before responding, and trusting before controlling. Chosen one, do not confuse urgency with importance. Not everything that demands your attention deserves your energy. God will highlight what is essential. Learn to honor those nudges. When you say no to distractions, you say yes to destiny. Another trap at this level is comparison. When abundance begins to flow, you may become more aware of how others are doing. Resist the urge to measure your journey against theirs. Comparison fractures gratitude, and gratitude is one of the greatest protectors of abundance. Stay rooted, stay thankful, stay aware. God may also begin pruning certain relationships or habits. This can feel uncomfortable, even painful. But pruning is proof of fruitfulness, not failure. What is being removed cannot support where you are going. Trust the process. Chosen one. Abundance is not meant to isolate you. It is meant to empower you to give wisely, not impulsively. To bless without depletion. To serve without resentment. God is teaching you how to be a conduit, not a container. You are learning that saying no does not make you selfish. It makes you effective. You are learning that slowing down does not mean losing momentum. It means directing it. This is the season where your inner life and outer life begin to match, where peace becomes your baseline, where provision becomes predictable, not because life is perfect, but because God is faithful. You are no longer just moving forward. You are being established. Chosen one. Whenever God establishes something new in your life, protection becomes just as important as provision. Blessings do not only need to be received, they need to be guarded. This is the stage you are entering now. Not because danger is everywhere, but because what you are carrying has value. Heaven protects what heaven promotes. At higher levels of alignment, resistance becomes more subtle. It no longer looks like obvious lack or open opposition. Instead, it often comes disguised as distraction, compromise, or internal drift. This is why spiritual grounding is essential. God is not calling you to be afraid. He is calling you to be aware. Chosen one. The first thing that must be protected is your inner peace. Peace is not a luxury, it is a signal. When peace is disturbed, something is misaligned. That does not mean you panic. It means you pause, you ask, you listen. God often speaks most clearly through peace leaving or returning. I learned this lesson the hard way. There were moments when opportunities looked perfect on the outside, but my spirit felt unsettled. At first I ignored it, thinking discomfort was just growth. But I later realized there is a difference between stretching and strain. Stretching builds you, strain drains you. God does not drain his chosen ones. Chosen one, you are learning to trust that inner check, that quiet hesitation, that gentle nudge. The more you honor it, the sharper it becomes. Discernment is a muscle. Use it. Another thing to protect is your identity. As abundance increases, there can be a temptation to attach your worth to outcomes, to feel valuable only when things are working. But your worth was settled long before provision arrived. You are not chosen because you are successful. You are successful because you are chosen. If you ever feel pressure to perform, impress, or maintain an image, pause. That pressure is not from God. God invites participation, not performance. He is not impressed by hustle. He is honored by obedience. Chosen one. Be careful with who has access to your inner world. Not everyone deserves your vulnerability. Not everyone understands your assignment. Oversharing can expose what should be covered. Even Jesus spoke in parables, not because he was hiding, but because wisdom requires discernment. This does not mean you become closed or suspicious. It means you become selective. You choose safe places. You choose aligned voices. You choose counsel that brings clarity, not confusion. At this level, comparison becomes a real threat. Not because you feel inferior, but because you may feel ahead. Both directions are dangerous. Comparison distracts you from stewardship. Your only reference point is obedience. Chosen one, your path is specific. God did not call you to replicate someone else's journey. He called you to fulfill your own. Stay in your lane. Grace flows where alignment is honored. Another subtle form of resistance is nostalgia. The temptation to romanticize past seasons, even painful ones, simply because they are familiar. But chosen one familiarity is not safety. God did not bring you this far to take you back. What you left behind cannot support who you are becoming. You may also notice an increase in responsibility. Influence brings weight. Decisions carry greater impact. This is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to mature you. God never increases influence without increasing grace. This is where daily grounding matters. Simple practices, quiet moments, honest prayer, gratitude, reflection. These are not religious habits. They are stabilizers. They keep your spirit aligned when life speeds up. Chosen one, do not underestimate the power of consistency. You do not need dramatic encounters every day. You need steady connection. God often moves most powerfully in the ordinary. There will be moments when others misunderstand your boundaries, when they interpret your growth as distance. Let them. You are not required to explain every evolution. Those who are meant to walk with you will adjust. Those who are not will fall away naturally. Do not chase what leaves. Do not force what fades. God removes to protect, not to punish. Another key to protection is gratitude. Gratitude keeps abundance flowing cleanly. It reminds you where your help comes from. It softens your heart. It keeps pride from taking root. Make gratitude a daily posture, not just a reaction to good news. Chosen one, remember this. God is not just interested in what He gives you. He is deeply invested in who you become while carrying it. That is why character matters more than capacity. Integrity matters more than increase. Alignment matters more than applause. If you ever feel tired, do not push harder. Return to rest. Rest is where clarity is restored. Rest is where motives are purified. Rest is where God recalibrates you. You are not behind. You are not missing anything. You are exactly where you need to be. Protection is not about building walls. It is about maintaining alignment. When you stay aligned, what is not meant for you cannot stay. Chosen one, you are learning to live from the inside out, to lead with peace, to decide with wisdom, to move with confidence that does not depend on circumstances. What God is building in you is stable, rooted, sustainable. Chosen one. There comes a sacred turning point when God shifts the conversation from what you receive to what you release. This is that moment. You are no longer being prepared just to experience provision. You are being positioned to steward legacy. Legacy is not about fame or scale. It is about faithfulness that continues working long after the moment passes. God thinks generationally. What he deposits in you is meant to outlive you. That is why this season feels weightier, more intentional, and more purposeful. You are sensing that your decisions carry consequences beyond your own comfort. That awareness is not pressure, it is promotion. I want to speak to you as someone who has stood at this threshold before. There is a quiet shift that happens when you realize your life is no longer just about your needs being met, but about others being changed because you obeyed. That realization humbles you and it strengthens you. It refines your motives. It simplifies your focus. Chosen one legacy begins with obedience in small things. The world celebrates big moments, but heaven honors daily faithfulness. The unseen choices, the private integrity, the decision to do what is right when no one is watching. These are the building blocks of lasting impact. You may not always see immediate results. Legacy often works underground. Seeds are planted before fruit is visible. Roots grow before branches extend. Do not despise hidden seasons. Hidden does not mean insignificant. It means protected. God is teaching you how to build in a way that does not collapse under pressure. Flashy success attracts attention. Sustainable impact attracts trust. Heaven values trust. Chosen one, you are entering a phase where your influence will not depend on your volume, but on your consistency. People will begin to watch how you live, not just what you say. Your peace will speak, your boundaries will teach, your integrity will preach. This is where character becomes the currency of the kingdom. Gifts open doors, but character keeps them open. Skills create opportunity, but humility sustains it. God is anchoring you so that what flows through you remains pure. There will be moments when legacy requires restraint, when you could push forward, but God asks you to wait, when you could expand faster, but God asks you to strengthen foundations. Waiting in obedience is never wasted. It is strategic. Chosen one, understand this: speed without alignment creates collapse. Expansion without roots creates instability. God is not in a rush to impress people. He is committed to transforming lives. You may feel called to serve, to teach, to build, to create, to lead. Whatever your assignment, legacy asks one primary question. Will what you build still stand when you are no longer holding it up? That question changes how you build. Legacy also changes how you give. You will notice a shift from impulsive generosity to intentional investment, from reacting to needs to responding to calling. God is teaching you discernment so that your giving multiplies impact rather than depletes you. There will be people God assigns to your path, not by accident, but by alignment. Some will come to learn, some to partner, some to be healed by your testimony. Not all will stay forever. Seasons change, assignments complete. Do not cling to relationships beyond their purpose. Honor them and release them. Chosen one legacy requires courage. The courage to say no to distractions. The courage to walk away from applause that costs integrity. The courage to remain teachable even when you are trusted with influence. I remember a moment when I realized that influence amplifies everything, both strengths and blind spots. That realization led me back to humility, back to accountability, back to God. That return was not regression, it was reinforcement. You will need voices in your life that are not impressed by your progress, but committed to your growth. Seek counsel that challenges you, not just celebrates you. Legacy is protected by truth. Another shift you may notice is your relationship with time. Urgency gives way to stewardship. You begin to ask not just what should I do now, but what is worth building long term. That question brings clarity. Chosen one, do not underestimate the ripple effect of obedience. One faithful decision can affect people you will never meet. One act of integrity can open doors for others behind you. One moment of courage can rewrite a family line. This is why heaven invests so deeply in your preparation. God is not just shaping your future, He is shaping futures through you. Legacy does not require perfection, it requires availability. God works through surrendered hearts, not flawless resumes. When you make mistakes, and you will return quickly, repent quickly, realign quickly. Humility keeps the channel open. As legacy takes shape, you may feel a deeper sense of responsibility, not fear, but reverence. This reverence keeps you grounded. It reminds you that everything you carry is entrusted, not owned. Chosen one, you are not meant to carry legacy alone. God builds through community, through partnership, through shared vision. Isolation may feel safe, but it limits multiplication. Ask God to show you who to walk with in this next phase. And finally, remember, this legacy is not built by striving. It is built by abiding, staying close to God, listening more than speaking, obeying more than explaining, trusting more than controlling. You are not behind. You are right on time. What you are becoming matters as much as what you are building. Chosen one authority is not something God gives lightly. True authority is not loud, forceful, or self-centered. It is quiet, grounded, and deeply anchored in relationship with Him. This is the season where authority is rising in your life, not because you demanded it, but because you became trustworthy with it. Authority in the kingdom is never about control. It is about stewardship. It is the ability to carry weight without becoming heavy, to lead without dominating, to influence without manipulating. God is shaping this kind of authority in you now. You may notice that your words carry more weight than before, that when you speak, people listen differently, that your presence changes the tone of a room. This is not something you force. It is something that forms when alignment deepens. Authority flows from intimacy with God, not from position. I want to share something personal here. There was a time when I thought authority meant certainty in every answer. I believed leaders were supposed to be unshakable. But God taught me that true authority is not afraid of humility. It is not threatened by questions. It is not diminished by gentleness. In fact, tenderness strengthens authority because it keeps the heart open. Chosen one, do not harden as you rise. Influence can subtly create distance if you are not careful. People may treat you differently. They may project expectations onto you. If you are not anchored, you might begin to protect yourself by pulling away emotionally. That is where authority begins to lose its warmth. God does not want you powerful but unreachable. He wants you strong and compassionate, firm and kind, clear and patient. Authority without love becomes intimidation. Love without authority becomes compromise. God is teaching you to hold both. You will encounter moments where firmness is required, where boundaries must be enforced, where truth must be spoken even if it is uncomfortable. This does not make you harsh, it makes you faithful. Tenderness does not mean avoiding difficult conversations. It means having them without cruelty. Chosen one. One of the greatest tests of authority is how you treat people who cannot advance you, how you respond to those who disagree, how you listen to those who have nothing to offer you. Heaven watches these moments closely. Authority is revealed in how you handle the least visible interactions. Another test is correction. When God corrects you at this level, it will often be subtle. A nudge, a pause, a quiet conviction. Respond quickly. Correction is not punishment, it is protection. The quicker you respond, the less weight correction needs to carry. You may also notice that God is bringing specific people into your life, now divine partnerships. These are not random connections, they are alignment-based. Some will challenge you, some will sharpen you, some will walk with you long-term. Others may only be present for a season. Discernment is essential. Do not rush partnerships out of excitement. Authority knows how to wait. Let fruit reveal alignment. God never joins destinies in haste. Chosen one divine partnership is built on mutual respect, shared values, and spiritual maturity. It is not about charisma or convenience, it is about trust. God will often confirm partnerships through peace, not pressure. As your authority increases, your sensitivity must also increase. Power without sensitivity leads to damage. God is refining your awareness so you can discern what people need, not just what they ask for. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer is presence, not answers. You will also face misunderstanding. Authority attracts projection. People may misinterpret your boundaries as distance, your clarity as arrogance, your calm as indifference. Do not internalize every opinion. Stay anchored in God's voice. Authority answers to heaven, not public perception. Chosen one. Tenderness keeps you human. It reminds you of where you came from. It keeps gratitude alive. Never forget the seasons where you needed grace, patience, and mercy. Let that memory inform how you treat others. God is also teaching you how to carry authority in rest. Not everything requires your intervention. Not every problem is yours to solve. Authority discerns when to act and when to step back. Over-involvement can be a form of control disguised as responsibility. You are not responsible for managing everyone's outcome. You are responsible for obedience. Another key at this stage is forgiveness. Authority grows heavy when unforgiveness remains. Release quickly. Do not let resentment take root. It clouds discernment and hardens the heart. Forgiveness is not agreement. It is freedom. Chosen one. There will be moments when you feel the weight of leadership, when decisions feel isolating, when responsibility feels lonely. In those moments, return to intimacy. Authority is sustained in the secret place, not in applause. Stay teachable, stay curious, stay soft. Authority does not mean you stop learning. It means you become more aware of how much you still need God. You are being trusted because you have proven faithful in small things. That faithfulness is still required. Do not despise the ordinary. Great authority is built on ordinary obedience. Chosen one, you are not becoming distant. You are becoming defined. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming clear. You are not losing compassion. You are learning how to protect it. Walk boldly but gently. Speak truthfully but lovingly. Lead confidently but humbly. Chosen one, visibility is a gift, but it is also a test. When God brings you into seasons where you are seen, recognized, or looked to for direction, He is not just expanding your platform, He is refining your identity. This is where many stumble, not because they lack calling, but because they forget who they were before the spotlight arrived. Visibility does not change who you are. It reveals who you are anchored to. You may notice that more eyes are on you now, more opinions, more expectations. People begin to project their hopes, needs, and assumptions onto you. Some will admire you, others will question you, some will misunderstand you completely. This is not new. Every person God elevates faces this tension. What matters is how you respond. Chosen one. The greatest danger in visibility is identity drift. That slow, subtle shift where you begin to define yourself by how you are perceived rather than by who God says you are. This does not happen overnight. It happens through small compromises, adjusting your voice to be liked, shaping your message to be accepted, softening your convictions to avoid discomfort. Guard your core. I remember a season where affirmation came quickly and criticism came just as fast. It was tempting to let both define me. God had to remind me that neither applause nor opposition gets a vote in my identity. Only His voice does. That reminder brought freedom. It will bring freedom to you too. Chosen one. Visibility amplifies motives. What was once private becomes observable. That is why God refined your heart before expanding your reach. Stay connected to that refinement. Do not rush past it. Another challenge of visibility is comparison. You may begin to notice others in similar spaces, different styles, different results, different responses. Resist the urge to measure. Comparison fractures calling. You are not meant to replicate anyone else. You are meant to represent God faithfully in your own lane. When you feel tempted to compare, return to gratitude. Gratitude recenters your perspective and keeps your spirit grounded. Chosen one. Visibility also increases responsibility. Your words matter more. Your reactions are observed. Your choices influence others. This is not meant to create pressure. It is meant to invite wisdom. Ask God before responding. Pause before reacting. Let your pace be intentional. You are not required to comment on everything. Silence can be wisdom. Authority does not always speak first. God is also teaching you discernment in visibility. Not every invitation is assignment. Not every request deserves access. You do not need to be everywhere to be effective. Focus multiplies impact. There will be moments when people seek proximity to your progress rather than alignment with your purpose. Be kind but discerning. Do not confuse attention with connection. Some are drawn to the fruit, not the root. Chosen one, protect your private life. Intimacy with God cannot be outsourced. The secret place must remain sacred. Visibility without intimacy leads to emptiness, but visibility flowing from intimacy becomes life-giving. Make time for silence, for reflection, for worship that no one sees. These moments recalibrate your heart. You may also face increased criticism. Some will misunderstand your intentions. Others will question your authority. Do not waste energy defending yourself against every opinion. God is your vindicator. Truth does not need constant explanation. When criticism comes, ask one question. Is there truth here I need to hear? If yes, receive it humbly. If not, release it peacefully. Not everything deserves a response. Chosen one, stay human. Visibility can tempt you to hide weakness. Do not fall into that trap. Authenticity builds trust. You do not need to share everything, but you must remain real. People are not drawn to perfection. They are drawn to integrity. Another subtle challenge is over-identification with impact. When results increase, it can feel intoxicating. Numbers, growth, feedback. God is not against results, but He is against identity rooted in outcomes. Outcomes fluctuate. God remains constant. Anchor yourself daily. Remind your soul who you are before God. You are His before you are anything else. You may also notice loneliness at times. Visibility can create distance. Not everyone can walk with you at every level. This does not mean you are alone. It means seasons are shifting. Ask God for companionship that aligns with where you are going, not where you were. Chosen one never apologize for growth. Growth does not mean abandonment. It means obedience. Those who are meant to remain will adjust. Those who are not will release. Your tenderness matters now more than ever. Do not let cynicism take root. Protect your compassion. The world does not need another hardened leader. It needs grounded ones. Visibility is a stewardship. God is trusting you with influence. Influence is not about being known. It is about making Him known through how you live. Stay anchored. Stay authentic. Stay obedient. Chosen one. It is important that you understand this truth without fear and without confusion. Seasons of visibility are often followed by seasons of testing, not because God is uncertain about you, but because what is visible must be reinforced at the core. Pressure does not arrive to destroy what God has built. It arrives to strengthen it. Testing at this level feels different from past trials. Earlier seasons tested your faith for survival. This season tests your faith for stewardship. The questions are no longer, will you make it? They are, will you remain aligned when obedience costs more? Will you stay rooted when comfort is no longer guaranteed? Chosen one. This is where many misunderstand God's process. They think testing means they did something wrong. But testing is often confirmation that you are trusted. God does not test what He does not intend to use. You may notice that obedience now requires greater sacrifice. Decisions that once felt easy may now carry weight. Choosing truth may cost approval. Choosing rest may cost momentum. Choosing integrity may cost opportunity. These are not losses, they are exchanges. Heaven always compensates what obedience releases. I want to speak from lived experience here. There were moments when I had to choose between what would grow me quickly and what would keep me aligned deeply. The quicker option was tempting. It looked efficient, it looked successful, but it did not carry peace. And every time I chose alignment over acceleration, God honored it in ways I could not have planned. Chosen one testing reveals what truly leads you. When pressure increases, whatever you rely on most will surface. If you rely on approval, rejection will shake you. If you rely on outcomes, delays will frustrate you. But if you rely on God, testing will steady you. You are learning now how to stand without immediate affirmation, how to move forward without constant confirmation, how to trust God's voice above external noise. This is spiritual maturity forming. Testing also exposes motives, not to shame you, but to refine you. God cares deeply about why you do what you do. Motives determine longevity. Right actions with wrong motives eventually collapse. God corrects early to protect long-term impact. You may feel misunderstood in this season. People who once celebrated you may question you. Those who benefited from your availability may resist your boundaries. Do not interpret this as failure. It is adjustment. Not everyone is meant to walk with you through every phase. Chosen one. Loneliness can accompany testing. Not because God has withdrawn, but because dependence is being clarified. God often removes secondary supports, so primary trust can deepen. This is not abandonment, it is intimacy. Return often to the place where your calling was first confirmed, not to relive the past, but to remember the source. God has not changed his mind about you. He is strengthening your capacity to carry what he promised. There will be moments when obedience feels costly and results feel delayed. This is where faith is purified. Faith that only functions when rewarded is not faith, it is transaction. But faith that remains when unseen becomes unshakable. Chosen one, resist the temptation to explain yourself excessively during testing. Explanation drains energy that obedience requires. God will vindicate what you do not need to defend. Silence, when guided by wisdom, is not weakness. It is restraint. You may also face internal testing fatigue, doubt, or the quiet question, is this worth it? That question does not disqualify you. It humanizes you. Bring it to God honestly. He is not threatened by your questions. He responds to your sincerity. Testing will also sharpen discernment. You will become quicker to recognize what is not aligned, less tolerant of distractions, more sensitive to peace, leaving or returning. These are not restrictions, they are protections. Chosen one, do not romanticize ease. Some of the most dangerous seasons are comfortable ones without conviction. Testing keeps you awake. It keeps you dependent. It keeps you anchored. There may be moments when you feel tempted to compromise just slightly, to soften truth, to delay obedience, to rationalize disobedience. These are crossroads moments. Small compromises create long detours. Small obediences unlock great clarity. Remember this, God never asks you to sacrifice without purpose. Every cost carries seed. Every surrender carries return. Every loss in obedience is met with multiplication in due time. Testing also builds spiritual authority. Authority that has never been tested collapses under pressure. Authority that has endured testing becomes steady, credible, and trusted. You are being prepared to lead others through what you have survived with God. Chosen one, do not rush this season. Do not resist it. Let it do its work. Refinement always feels slower than excitement, but it produces something excitement cannot. Depth. Stay close to God, not out of fear, but out of relationship. Let prayer be honest, not polished. Let rest be intentional, not accidental. Let obedience be daily, not dramatic. You are not being pushed back. You are being reinforced. Chosen one. There is a moment that follows sustained obedience, a moment when heaven responds to consistency with acceleration. This is not the kind of acceleration driven by pressure or impatience. This is divine momentum released because you proved faithful when it would have been easier to quit, compromise, or coast. Breakthrough after testing does not arrive as chaos. It arrives as clarity. You may already feel it. A lightness where there was heaviness. A confidence that does not need reassurance. A joy that is quieter but deeper than excitement. This is what happens when obedience outlives resistance. God does not rush the process, but when the timing is right, He moves with precision. Chosen one. Acceleration in the kingdom is never random. It is the natural response to alignment. When your heart, your decisions, and your timing come into agreement with heaven, obstacles lose authority. Things that once took years begin to resolve in weeks. Doors open without forcing. Provision meets you at the moment of need, not ahead of time and not too late. I want to be clear, this acceleration does not erase responsibility. It refines it. God does not speed you up so you can do more. He accelerates so you can do what matters most with less resistance. There was a season in my life when I thought breakthrough would feel dramatic, loud, emotional, undeniable. But when it came, it felt peaceful, almost normal. That surprised me. I realized that sustained obedience had already prepared my nervous system for increase. The miracle didn't overwhelm me because my character had been strengthened first. That is what God has been doing in you. Chosen one, joy returns differently after testing. It is not fragile. It is not dependent on circumstances. It is grounded. It laughs again. It dreams again. It trusts again. This joy is a sign that your faith has matured. You are no longer chasing outcomes. You are walking with God. Supernatural acceleration often looks like alignment stacking. The right people connect at the right time. Conversations unlock opportunities. Ideas flow without strain. You begin to recognize patterns of favor, not because you earned them, but because obedience positioned you. Do not downplay these moments. Acknowledge them. Gratitude keeps the channel clear. Gratitude reminds your soul that God is active, present, and faithful. Chosen one. Be mindful of your pace during acceleration. Do not rush ahead of wisdom. Acceleration does not mean urgency. It means efficiency. Let God set the rhythm. If you feel hurried, pause. If you feel pressured, reassess. Heaven's acceleration feels supported, not stressful. Another sign of divine acceleration is restoration. God often restores what testing seemed to take. Energy returns. Creativity returns. Relationships heal or are replaced with healthier ones. Confidence returns, not arrogance, but assurance. Restoration does not always look like getting back what you lost. Sometimes it looks like receiving something better aligned. Trust God's judgment here. He knows what truly serves your future. Chosen one. This is also a season where your testimony becomes clearer, not louder, but more defined. You understand what God brought you through and why. That clarity equips you to guide others without bitterness or pride. Your story becomes medicine. Be generous with your wisdom, but guarded with your time. Acceleration invites many requests. Not all are assignments. Ask God often, "What is mine to carry now?" He will answer. You may notice that your prayers change. They become simpler, more direct, less anxious. You stop asking God to prove Himself and start thanking Him for His presence. That shift matters. It keeps your heart aligned. Chosen one. Acceleration also requires trust in timing. Some things will move quickly, others will remain slow. Do not interpret slowness as resistance. God may be protecting what needs time to mature. Let speed and patience coexist. There will be moments of celebration in this season. Receive them without guilt. Joy honors God. Laughter heals. Rest restores. Do not carry the weight of seriousness when God invites you into delight. At the same time, stay anchored. Acceleration can tempt you to relax disciplines that sustained you through testing. Keep the foundations. Keep the rhythms. What carried you through pressure will carry you through progress. Chosen one. Hear this promise with clarity. Faithfulness never goes unnoticed. Not one prayer whispered in exhaustion. Not one decision made in obedience. Not one boundary held in silence. Heaven records faithfulness and releases reward at the appointed time. You are not stepping into a temporary high. You are entering a season of consistent grace, not perfection, not ease, but support, direction, provision. Let your confidence rest in God, not in momentum. Momentum will ebb and flow. God remains constant. As this acceleration unfolds, continue to choose humility. Success does not mean independence from God. It means deeper dependence. Stay teachable. Stay grateful. Stay responsive. Chosen one. What God has begun, He will complete. What He has accelerated, He will sustain. What He has restored, He will protect. Chosen one, sustained growth requires a different kind of strength than breakthrough. Breakthrough demands faith. Sustained growth demands wisdom. This is the season you are entering now. God has opened doors, accelerated movement, and restored momentum. But now He is teaching you how to live well inside the expansion. Joy must be maintained intentionally. Balance must be guarded deliberately. Many people can handle a breakthrough. Fewer can steward what comes after it. God is training you to be among the few who do not burn out, drift spiritually, or lose themselves in success. What He is building in you now is not excitement, it is stability. Chosen. One, joy is not something you stumble into at this level. It is something you choose. Not shallow happiness, but deep, settled joy that flows from alignment. Joy becomes a spiritual discipline when life grows louder. You may notice that your schedule is fuller, your responsibilities are heavier, your influence is broader. None of this is wrong, but growth without margin eventually suffocates joy. God does not want your life full, but your spirit empty. He wants expansion with breath. I learned this lesson through exhaustion, not revelation. There was a time when everything I prayed for began happening at once, and I nearly lost myself trying to keep up. God had to slow me down, not because I was failing, but because I was forgetting to enjoy what He had given. Expansion without joy becomes slavery. Chosen one. Joy is not optional. It is fuel. When joy fades, discernment dulls. When joy weakens, perspective narrows. God restores joy not as a reward, but as a necessity. Balance begins with permission. Permission to rest without guilt, to pause without explanation, to say no without justification. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to honor your limits. Limits are not evidence of weakness. They are proof of wisdom. Jesus withdrew often, even when crowds were demanding more. If the Son of God honored rest, you are not disqualified for needing it. Chosen one, beware of spiritual fatigue after breakthrough. Fatigue often disguises itself as productivity. You keep moving, but your spirit grows tired. This is why God invites you back to simplicity. Fewer voices, clearer focus, deeper connection. Ask yourself often, Am I doing this from alignment or from obligation? Alignment energizes. Obligation drains. You may need to recalibrate your rhythms. What worked in one season may not work now. Growth requires adjustment. Let go of routines that no longer serve your spirit. Replace them with practices that restore you. Balance also requires emotional honesty. Do not pretend strength when you need support. Do not hide weariness behind faith language. God does not require performance. He responds to truth. Chosen one, stay connected to people who see you not just your role, people who can speak freely, people who remind you who you were before things expanded. Isolation is subtle at this level. Guard against it. Another threat to joy is over-identification with responsibility. When you begin to believe everything depends on you, joy disappears. Remember this: God sustained your life before you were aware of your calling. He can sustain it now without your anxiety. You are not the source, you are the steward. Balance also means celebrating progress. Do not rush past milestones. Pause to acknowledge growth. Gratitude anchors joy and prevents restlessness. You may feel tempted to keep pushing because momentum feels good. But momentum without reflection leads to misalignment. Reflection keeps your heart calibrated. Chosen one, keep returning to the secret place, not as a duty, but as a refuge. Let prayer be relational again, not transactional. Let worship be real, not rushed. Let silence become sacred. As life expands, your inner life must deepen. Shallow roots cannot support tall structures. God is deepening you so you can remain steady when storms come. Joy also flourishes when expectations are realistic. Growth does not eliminate challenges, it changes their nature. Do not interpret difficulty as regression. Sometimes difficulty is simply part of building something meaningful. Chosen one, learn to distinguish between pressure and purpose. Purpose carries peace even when it stretches you. Pressure produces anxiety even when it looks productive. Choose purpose. You will also need to practice saying no to things that once felt exciting but no longer align. Growth clarifies priorities. What once fit may now feel crowded. Release without guilt. Balance is not perfection, it is responsiveness. When God nudges you to slow down, listen. When He invites you to celebrate, respond. When He calls you to rest, obey. You are not meant to live constantly stretched. Seasons of expansion must be matched with seasons of integration. Integration is where growth becomes sustainable. Chosen one, joy is not found at the finish line. It is found in walking closely with God along the way. Do not postpone joy for later. Later is not guaranteed. Today is. You are allowed to enjoy your life, to laugh, to rest, to be present. God is not glorified by your exhaustion. He is honored by your trust. As you move forward, carry this truth. Growth is a gift, but joy is a choice. Balance is not accidental, it is cultivated. Chosen one. This is where the journey comes full circle, not because it ends here, but because it stabilizes here. You are no longer chasing breakthrough. You are no longer trying to prove faith. You are learning how to live in alignment. This is the quiet power of a life funded by heaven and anchored in peace. Divine provision is not an event. It is a way of life. What God has been forming in you through every season, survival, alignment, momentum, testing, acceleration, growth, is a new posture of being. You are becoming someone who moves with God rather than running ahead of Him or lagging behind in fear. That posture changes everything. Chosen one. The greatest evidence of divine provision is not constant abundance. It is consistent peace. Peace that remains when circumstances shift. Peace that guides decisions. Peace that guards your heart when uncertainty tries to return. This peace is not passive, it is active alignment. You may notice now that you respond differently to pressure. Where you once panicked, you pause. Where you once overthought, you listen. Where you once tried to control outcomes, you now trust timing. That is not coincidence. That is transformation. Living in divine provision means you no longer ask, "Will God come through?" You ask, "How is God guiding me through this?" That shift is everything. I want to speak honestly here as someone who has walked this road. There will still be days that feel ordinary, days without fireworks, days where nothing dramatic happens. Do not misinterpret normalcy as absence. God often does his deepest work in quiet faithfulness. The miracle is not always what changes around you. Sometimes the miracle is who you have become. Chosen one. Alignment is maintained through daily awareness, not dramatic moments. Small obediences, gentle corrections, quick forgiveness, honest prayer, gratitude in the ordinary. These practices keep your life synchronized with heaven. You are not meant to strain to stay aligned. Alignment flows when intimacy remains intact. Your relationship with God is no longer transactional. You are not approaching him only when you need something. You are walking with him, talking with him, listening to him. That relational depth is what sustains provision long term. Divine provision also teaches you how to hold things loosely. You are grateful for what you receive, but not attached in fear. You enjoy blessings without worshipping them. You release outcomes without resentment. This freedom protects your joy. Chosen one. Remember this truth. God does not remove provision to teach lessons. He teaches lessons to protect provision. When correction comes, receive it without shame. Correction is proof of relationship. As your life continues to unfold, stay sensitive to the Spirit's guidance. He will lead you in ways that may not always make sense logically, but will always produce peace. When peace leaves, pause. When peace returns, proceed. You are learning how to discern divine timing, not by signs alone, but by alignment within. You may also notice that your prayers have become simpler. Less begging, more listening, less explaining, more trusting. That simplicity is maturity. God does not need you to convince him. He invites you to agree with him. Chosen one. Abundance will continue to show up in different forms: resources, opportunities, relationships, ideas, favor. Receive them with humility, steward them with wisdom, enjoy them with gratitude, and when seasons change, as they always do, do not fear. Alignment is portable. Peace travels with you. Provision adapts. God remains faithful. You are not returning to survival. You are not going back to striving. Even when challenges arise, you will face them differently, with confidence, with discernment, with trust. Living in divine provision does not mean life becomes effortless. It means effort becomes purposeful. You work, but not from anxiety. You plan, but not from fear. You build, but not alone. Chosen one, your life now carries rhythm, work and rest, faith and wisdom, authority and tenderness. This rhythm is what sustains you long term. As you continue forward, keep these anchors close. Stay humble. Humility keeps grace flowing. Stay grateful. Gratitude keeps your heart soft. Stay obedient. Obedience keeps your path clear. Stay rested. Rest keeps your spirit strong. Do not rush what God is unfolding. Destiny does not need urgency. It needs faithfulness. You are no longer becoming aligned. You are aligned, and alignment produces fruit in every season. Chosen one. Heaven has not only funded your life, heaven has trained your heart. What you carry now is stable, sustainable, and sacred. Walk forward with confidence, not in yourself, but in the God who walks with you. This is not the end of the story. This is the beginning of a life lived in divine flow, and you are ready. Chosen one, as this message comes to rest, let your spirit settle into the truth that nothing you have heard tonight was accidental. Heaven arranged this moment with precision. You are not late, you are not behind. You are standing in your exact kairos moment, the divinely appointed time where heaven's provision begins to move visibly in your life. This is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning of your becoming. What has already been stirred within you is not fading. It is aligning. It is strengthening. It is unfolding according to a blueprint written long before you ever asked the question. The supernatural transfer is already in motion. The supply has been authorized. The peace you feel is confirmation. Chosen one. Walk forward now without fear. Rest your heart. Lift your eyes. Heaven is funding your steps, guiding your decisions, and backing your future. Stay aligned with the flow of the anointing. Guard your peace. Expect provision. Look ahead with gratitude for what is already on its way. If this word resonated with your spirit, let your agreement be known not as obligation, but as faith. And if you feel led, remain connected here so your spirit stays anchored in truth. Be blessed, anointed one. The door is open, the path is clear, and heaven is walking with you.